67 minutes of Nelson Mandela, or 67 minutes for Nelson Mandela. Why not 95 minutes? On that note, well folks, hello and welcome to Africa Now. It's time. I'm gonna talk about something that is not so usual, but here on our channel we speak and discuss about fundamental issues that's gonna lead to the real freedom of Africa, probably the freedom of the mind. Because when we look, it looks as if Africa is independent, but when we go deeper and start doing our analysis, we see that there's still more, much more to this Africa issue than what meets the eye. Well, let me go back. Let me start and talk about Father Africa, Nelson Rolihlahla. I don't know if I got the pronunciation correctly. Rolihlahla Mandela from South Africa. Well, as you know that he founded the ANC party, which is the ruling party up to date. But let's go back to history. What is it that happened to the life of Tata Africa, as they call him, or Nelson Mandela? Was Nelson Mandela a liberator of South Africa, or he actually imprisoned South Africa? Well folks, if you haven't subscribed, always follow up on our stories or on our issues. Subscribe and click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get everything that I post on my channel. My channel is still growing, but I tell you, we do some researches and we bring some solid truth that is going to liberate and set free the people of Africa. All right, when Nelson Mandela was taken to prison, that was years back. I mean, way back. He was taken to prison because he was campaigning for the liberation of Africa, of South Africa. And he was saying, we want South Africa. And his motto was, if I want South Africa, I need the whole of South Africa. That was the statement of Nelson Mandela when he was running his ANC party. Remember, there with his colleagues, the likes of Oliver Tambo and all those guys he went with to prison, the ones who were later released, and him only as the leader of the gang was kept in prison. Come to think of it, let's suppose I'm just thinking, because Nelson was put in prison while he was not in good books with the white folks, because the whites, why they put him in prison, they wanted the resources of South Africa. They wanted to extract the resources of South Africa. But looking at that issue, was there any change at the time when Nelson was released from prison? That was 27 years later. Was there a change when we look at that issue? I'm gonna leave that thing hidden, and I want you guys to comment on the comment section below and tell me what you think. Okay, but now looking at the new Nelson Mandela, the one who came out of prison, and when we rewind back and look at the old Nelson Mandela, the one who went into prison, let's say 27 years before his exit from the prison, we will see a huge difference. And there were a lot of changes that took place. The way Nelson handled his politics, his career, his relationship with his wife, especially with Winnie Mandela, the one who left and took over the struggle from where Nelson left. Can't you suspect something? He went to prison when he was in good books with the wife. Of course, we heard that Winnie Mandela ordered some other things which was undemocratic, as they claim. That's why he couldn't marry Winnie Mandela when he returned from prison. But come to think of it, can that be the only thing? Because when he went to prison, he was actually fighting for the same thing which Winnie left and kept on persisting on, fighting for the freedom of South Africa. And Nelson wanted the freedom of South Africa, all of it. Now, when Nelson Mandela came out of prison, he was saying there is nobody who owns South Africa. South Africa is for everybody who lives in it. Wait a minute. Can't you smell a rat there? Don't you suspect something? What if we go to the speculations of 67 minutes of Nelson Mandela? Yes, I said 67. And why not 95 minutes of Nelson Mandela? Can we only celebrate somebody's victory and forget about his tribulations, even if the tribulations are the ones that brought up the victory? Or you are going to celebrate the rest of somebody's life to show that we are really honoring the icon? It's your homework, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to put words in somebody's mouth, but let me repeat my statement. I said, can you celebrate someone's victory only and leave out the other years of tribulations? He took 27 years in prison fighting for the liberation of South Africa. 27 years. And they said, when we are remembering Nelson Mandela, we are not going to talk about the 27 years that was taken and put aside, and say we are just going to remember the other time of his lifetime, whereby we were in good books with him. Strange, isn't it? Rather, wasn't it wise for us to celebrate 95 like we are celebrating Nelson Mandela's lifetime, which is 95 years, if that's the case? Now, what if somebody might come and say, oh, probably the guy whom they call Nelson Mandela could have been swapped while he was in prison? Yes, you heard me. I said somebody might just bring, it's just mere speculations. You tell me what you think, guys. Like I said, I'm just bringing what I think. That's my thoughts. Okay, I said, what if somebody comes and tell you and say, you know what, that guy you all say is Nelson Mandela, that's not the real Nelson Mandela. Looking at the way he came out, what he was saying when he came out of prison, like he was talking of freedom for everybody, South Africa belongs to everyone. But when he went to prison, he was emphasizing and saying South Africa belongs to South Africans. If I said South Africans, I mean the real South Africans, the black folks. That's what led to Nelson Mandela's arrest. And when he went to prison, he said, I don't care, I'm not going to give up. I will continue holding on my agenda. And the woman who was left behind kept on persisting and say, we need South Africa to be free. And he continued the struggle which was begun by Nelson. But to my surprise, will somebody with common sense come out of prison and start saying, you woman, because you ordered someone who was a traitor, who was a sellout, when we were planning whatever we were planning and saying what we were saying, you are taking every idea and exposing it to our enemies. Now we want you to be dealt with. That person who orders such, when Nelson came out, he could say, I don't want anything to do with Winnie because of that. Isn't it the very agenda why Nelson went to prison? I'm just imposing questions, ladies and gentlemen, to you. I want you to look at it. This is the month of July. We are going to celebrate the 67 minutes of Nelson, not 95 minutes like he is claimed to have lived 95 years. So I think if we were going to be fair about the gentleman, if he is the true liberator of Africa, as people claim, wasn't it wise for people to celebrate 95 years of Nelson Mandela, other than 67 minutes, which is the only talk of the good times he enjoyed in his life, forgetting his time of tribulations? What if I tell you that probably, like I said, maybe, just maybe, what if I tell you that maybe the original Nelson, maybe might have died in prison some years before we even heard something, and these guys, they looked for a very identical somebody who is exactly with the same looks as Nelson Mandela. I heard he was not good in his mother language when he came out of prison, which is Xhosa. I'm just saying, like I said, you guys have to tell me what you think and what you know about the gentleman. He came out saying some other things. He was fighting for the liberation of Africa, of South Africa, but until he came out of prison, up to date, South Africa is still in the same bondage. It looks like there is freedom in South Africa, but the freedom is political freedom. Let me say, still, if we come to other terms and look deeper, we will see that even the politics, it's not all that clear. It looks like only political freedom. The wealth, the everything, the reason why all the people went to the liberation struggle was, we want the real economy. The center of the issue is the economy. We want everything to be liberated. We want economic liberation. Black folks, the real original South Africans, to own everything, like the business sector, the mines and all that, the farms, to be taught about how to govern their own resources. But what happened, rather? The Nelson came out and said, okay guys, we understand you took everything from our forefathers, we understand you took everything, but now that you have been living in South Africa, you are now South Africans. So South Africa belongs to all of you, belongs to all of us, and all of us, we are South Africans. So South Africa is for everybody who lives in it, including you, the guys who came and you wanted to possess everything from us. So we are now like one. His sudden interest on sports like rugby, Nelson Mandela was now a fan of Amaboko Boko, as they call their rugby national team. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end my story on here, but I'm going to start another series of reading the book. As it is a month of Nelson Mandela, July, we will be focusing on Nelson Mandela. I'm going to read a book that was written by Rory Stein, the chief bodyguard to Nelson Mandela, the one who was the chief bodyguard to Nelson Mandela. The book is called One Step Behind Mandela. So stay tuned. Don't even go anywhere. Starting from this Saturday, I am going to post the first chapter of the book reading of One Step Behind Nelson Mandela. Let's just move bit by bit, and we will do commentary on it. We will have to take each and every step as we speak and discuss the matters of Africa. Africa needs you and me to wake up so that we may liberate Africa completely. What must be done with Africa? What must Africans look or think about when we talk of the real freedom of Africa? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to talk more on this issue. I'm just going to arrest my case and say, let's meet again. Until we meet again, please remember to subscribe. Don't let anything miss you, especially concerning this topic. We are going to discuss more and take out what roles did the neighboring guys, how did they contribute? The neighboring guys, like we had who is this guy from Mozambique, Samora Machel? What relationship was between Samora Machel and Nelson Mandela, up to the extent that Nelson decided to take a Samora Machel's widow to be his wife, leaving his original wife, Winnie Mandela, behind? What exactly happened between the two folks? What relationship was there between Nelson Mandela and Robert Mugabe? You know, Robert Mugabe died saying Nelson Mandela was not a hero. He rather is a sellout. What exactly happened? What sparked between Robert Mugabe and Nelson Mandela? We're going to talk more, but otherwise, for you to not to miss a thing, please remember to subscribe. Do yourself a favor and just hit the subscription button, and let's move together. And please stay tuned. Always remember to be on Africa Now. It is time. Your favorite channel. Goodbye for now. Thank you.